Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the GG Report. I'm glad you're tuned in. I do hope that you enjoy this program and you're learning a lot from us. Now, the ongoing global pandemic, the COVID-19, has created serious challenges in health systems and healthcare systems. And we know that has impacted economies and all sorts of social systems, and we are yet to recover. But today we want to address ourselves to this subject. We want to deal with some of the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic, starting from last year, and how it has affected governance and health systems, within our country. As you know, there has been a lot of information flying around. We want to try and see if we can break these things down for us today. Now, as you know, the GG Report is a platform where we discuss big, bold ideas and have honest conversations. So today we're going to have a very honest conversation, and I believe you will learn. And we're going to dwell in matters health, social dynamics. And so this is very, very exciting. Now, I have a guest with me today, Dr. Wahome Ngari. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. It's my pleasure to be here.
And Dr. Wahome is a member of the Kenya Christian Professionals Forum. He's actually the chair of the Health Committee, and he plays in that arena and many other arenas. We'll be asking him to give us his background and talk briefly about himself. And then we're going to go into the various agendas that we have today to discuss. So welcome to the show, Dr. Wahome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Asante.
Yeah, so let's begin with you telling us about your career in medicine and what actually inspired you to go into medicine.
Okay, it's a long story, so we'll keep it short so that we have enough time to discuss the other pertinent issues.
Yes.
But I had a brother. Unfortunately, he passed away last year. His name is Moses.
Okay.
He was going to the US, and he had this dog that was called Tommy.
Okay.
It's a dog he loved a lot.
Yes.
And when he left,
yes,
he actually asked me to take over,
yes,
and look after Tommy.
Yes.
So it was a big responsibility given by my older brother, and I did look after Tommy.
Okay.
But then he developed a cancer-like growth on the belly.
Okay.
And we would take him to the vets, and they'd give us medication, and I was applying that on a regular basis, but he wasn't getting better.
Okay.
And eventually the vet said he had to be put down.
Okay.
Now, for a small child, that's a very devastating story.
Okay.
And we'd watched all these Western movies, and the issue was if your horse broke a leg, it wouldn't survive, so the cowboy would shoot it. And the vet was talking about poisoning the dog.
Okay.
Giving it poison, and I thought that's horrific. Okay, so it's already bad enough. The dog is going to be killed.
You can't stand your dog being poisoned.
Since we were in the prisons training college, the college that trains the prison warders,
yes,
because my father was working with the prisons,
yes,
they got us a marksman, their best shot.
Yeah.
And he was brought, and the dog was somewhere on the road.
Yeah.
And he went about a meter from the dog.
Yeah.
But when he shot, instead of the head, he hit the leg.
Okay.
So Tommy ran all the way from the road and came to the pouch of the house.
All right.
And we are locked in the house.
Yes.
But I could see him.
And
where he from the window.
Yeah.
And where he lay, a little pool developed around him, and he was bleeding. And I kept telling them if we stopped that bleeding, Tommy wouldn't die.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was already bad enough to reconcile that he had to die.
Yeah.
But to watch him die like that was very painful.
That
So
must have been.
basically, that was where it started, and I decided I'm going to be a vet.
Okay.
And there is no animal that will suffer like that ever again.
Yes.
And I kept that from 10 years of age all the way until I reached high school.
Okay.
And when we were filling our forms to apply for university education,
Yes.
as we were talking with one of my friends, he asked, by the way, what course are you filling for?
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to go for veterinary medicine.
Yes.
Then he asked, but if you want to do medicine, why don't you then take care of people instead of animals?
Uh-huh.
So I looked at him and I thought, okay, that doesn't sound bad. So I changed my first option to medicine.
Yes.
And the second one to veterinary medicine.
Okay.
And I was called to medical school.
All right. Oh.
So basically that's how I ended up in medicine.
Yeah, that was very profound, actually. I mean, I guess that inspired you, in your pursuit, in your choice of whatever you were to
Yes,
say,
to alleviate suffering.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, alleviate suffering. So that's a very serious sense of mission. So you're actually a man on mission.
Yes,
and that's very good. Excellent. So, of course, you've been in the news, and you've been playing in the field in reproductive health. That's actually your core. And so, I would like to ask you where we'll dive straight into the various issues. Of course, we've got a lot to cover. Where you stand on the issues of abortion, reproductive health, and all that, sexual health, and they have even added the idea of rights into it. Given your 30 years of practice, that as you told me before, you've seen a lot. So I would like you to comment on that and give us a little bit more light on that.
Okay, so really, from a medical perspective, the issue of reproduction is a male-female issue. So really, it's just what we would call mating in animals.
Yes.
So it is between a man and a woman.
Yes.
And its main output is a child.
Yes.
And we know we need children to sustain our population and our communities.
Yes.
So it is basically family-centered.
Yes.
So if you think about a child not as a product to sell in the market,
okay,
but as a person who needs care and who needs mentoring to prepare them for their future life.
Yeah.
And you understand that men and women are very different.
Yes.
You understand then that a child will learn some things from the mother.
Yes.
It cannot learn from the father.
Correct.
And there are some things it will learn from the father, it can't learn from the mother.
Yes.
So really, if you are to be serious as a community and you're looking at reproductive health, then it needs to be family-centered.
Okay.
It needs to be all around.
Yes.
And not just a factor of a pregnancy.
Yes.
Or looking after a pregnant woman. So it is on that background that I practice.
Yes.
So when a mother is expecting a child, then there is a man in her life. And who should be brought on board and be involved in this care. And then the child would need 18 to 25 years of care before they can be independent.
And that's very profound, by the way, Daktari, because I think human beings are the ones that require, the longest time of care. I mean, among mammals, sure.
Yes, so if you understand it from that background, then it is, when we narrow to the field of obstetrics and gynecology, then obstetrics is really care for the pregnant woman.
Okay.
And gynecology is care of the woman who's not pregnant.
Okay.
So the other conditions that may affect the woman outside of this.
Yes.
But then once you have the pregnant woman, then there is the father that would need to be brought on board.
Okay.
So different people practices differently. The general practice is to leave the man out of the picture.
Okay.
And just deal with the woman. In our practice, we basically take care of both. Now, in that background, then, There is a new movement. It's not quite new. It is metamorphosized.
Yeah.
It is called the Sexual and Reproductive Health and Rights Movement.
Okay.
It basically is an ideology.
Yes.
It has a long history which we may not be able to tackle right now.
Yeah.
But suffice it to say that it has several components that are very important.
Yeah.
One of the components is that it has population control in it.
Yes.
The attitude is that a large population is a disaster. And for you to develop properly, you need to reduce population.
Okay.
The other part of that ideology is something we call eugenics.
Yes.
That there are some populations that are superior to others.
Yes.
And there are some of these inferior populations that can be done away with, or that are a nuisance.
Yes.
And therefore you need to reduce them.
Mm-hmm.
So that has come from eugenics, where the white man was said to have been created superior of all the races, and the black man was the most inferior.
Yes.
In fact, the black was created to serve the white man. So there is that eugenics.
Yeah.
So you want to control population, but you also want to target that there are those who should not reproduce.
Yes, I'm very familiar with that, or rather, I've been reading quite a bit on that movement and its implications.
Yes,
and it's a first of all, generally, it's an ideology. It's an ideological movement that has grown legs and feet and pervaded society.
Yes,
and so what you're saying is that the reproductive health and rights idea, even movement itself, has these roots in some of these things, which clearly informs how some of these programs are being done.
Yes. The other one is that there is a liberal attitude towards sex. So that sex is for pleasure, is not for procreation.
Okay.
In fact, procreation is a nuisance. So we want to have sex for pleasure, and if somebody gets pregnant, then it's a very bad side effect of sex for pleasure. So you must know what to do with that. So you bring in contraceptives to prevent it.
Yes.
And if they get pregnant, then they must be offered abortion as a service.
Yeah.
And because then sex is for pleasure, then it's not limited to men and women. It can be men and men, it can be women and women, it can be children, it can be animals, it can be gadgets, it is anything goes, so long as you experience pleasure.
Yeah.
When you take all these components together, that movement that came with the sexual revolution, together with the population control, together with all these other things, then now it morphed into what is now called the sexual and reproductive health and rights.
Yes.
It's an ideology.
Yes.
And it is completely contrary to our African traditions. It is completely contrary to most of the major religious beliefs. And that history is important because then what they advocate for is since sex is for pleasure, then everybody should be taught how to enjoy it, starting from as little as 4 years of age, going upwards. And since when you expose people to that kind of liberal sex, then they're going to get pregnant, then it's very important you give contraceptives to everyone, including the children.
Okay.
And then after that, it is very important that if they get pregnant, you offer them what is now called safe abortion services.
Okay.
And you liberalize. It's very important that it is not called prostitution, it is called sex work, and it is legalized.
Yeah.
And same-sex unions should also be legalized so that people can do what they want. So that's basically what the ideology is.
And it's clearly, I would use the word diabolical, and so contrary to biblical faith and the very foundation of Christianity, on which, as a matter of fact, the Western world is actually based. I mean, the Western world is a Judeo-Christian, is based on the Judeo-Christian worldview, and it is, and that's what we are in Kenya. We part of we have adopted the Western ideology and philosophy of life, and therefore it is really sad that this movement is literally attacking that very foundation on which our society is built. Even our very African society is built, and so let's leave that at that. But then now let's come to a very practical issue that has been in the media. There has been a lot of reports of the upsurge of teenage pregnancy since we got into this COVID pandemic, and we have witnessed, of course, sexualization of society, and I think you have alluded to it. What would you say would be the solution to this teenage pregnancy thing and the upsurge?
The solution would then be drawn from the problem.
Okay.
And the problem is that teenagers are indulging in sexual activity.
Yes.
So the question is, why
Yes.
are teenagers indulging in sexual activity?
Yes.
And why are they shocked that they're getting pregnant?
Yes.
And if you then approach it from that point of view, you find the family structure is broken.
Yes.
And it is broken by design. One of the things I forgot to mention about the sexual and reproductive health and rights movements, the best way to see its final product, especially in terms of population reduction, is to look at Europe. And look at Europe today, and you find the fertility rate on average in the European Union is 1.5 children.
Yes.
Now you need at least 2.2, 2.5 children per couple for you to maintain population, not increase it.
Yes.
So if you take such a liberal attitude towards sex, you destroy the family structure, and what usually happens is that you stigmatize pregnancy.
Yes.
And the fertility of a woman, the very gift she was given of giving us children, then becomes a bad thing.
Yes.
And you stigmatize it.
Yes.
She doesn't want children.
Yes.
And what happens in the end is that your population plummets.
Yes.
And it will not recover again. So that said, the question then is, who is teaching our children the things they are doing now?
Yeah.
And what you find is parents need to start getting engaged in what children are taught in school.
Yes.
At what point is sexuality and sexual issues introduced?
Yes.
Because like now with the HIV pandemic, in order to combat HIV, HIV was mainstreamed in education.
Yes.
But then you're starting to talk to standard 5 children about HIV.
Yes.
They're not sexually active. They're nowhere near that. They're still in the age of innocence.
Yes.
But then if you're going to discuss with them about a sexually transmitted disease, then you must talk about sex.
Yes.
And if you do, then you must also tell them how it's prevented. And when you go there, and the ABC that is taught to the adult, abstain, be faithful, or use a condom, is taught to 5-year-olds, then the idea is that you're telling them sex is okay without commitment, and you're telling them there is a way of preventing these diseases. Yes. The thing is, the age of innocence has been ignored. So that is one. The other one, of course, is a lot of media issues. The music that we're exposing our children to, the behavior of adults on national TV. A child would not be able to tell that people on the screen are acting.
Yes.
And if so-and-so says, I love you, and they jump into bed, then obviously love and sex mean the same thing.
Yes.
So we need to come to that point where we understand that education is an extension of parenting. And that parents need to be involved in curricula. In fact, our constitution is very clear. Anything the child is exposed to must have the consent of parents.
That's true. I think I like what you've said, that education is part of parenting.
It's part of parenting.
So that's something we need to emphasize. And I think maybe you could say, like, for example, when during the lockdown last year, when parents had to stay with their children for almost like 8 months, say 7 months, clearly, I think a lot of parents realized they were hardly ever parenting their children.
Exactly.
And yeah.
Yes, it is a major crisis. But there is another twist to that story.
Yeah.
The sexual reproductive health and rights movement
Yeah.
has been in the grassroots for a long time.
Oh, okay.
We know of, in 2014, 2015,
Yeah.
The BBC did a program on some of our schools.
Yeah.
And they called one of our pro-life doctors, Dr. Jean Kagia,
Yeah.
to discuss the issue about contraceptives being made available to children.
Yes.
And she appeared in the show, and when they sent her the clip,
Yeah.
the clip had children in primary and secondary school
Yeah.
who had been taught something called comprehensive sexuality education.
Yes.
Now, comprehensive sexuality education
Yeah.
is the training arm of sexual and reproductive health and rights.
Yes.
That's
yes.
how they teach children, they sexualize children using that program.
Okay.
It had been taught in schools in Kenya here without the knowledge of the Ministry of Education,
As
without the
early
permission.
as 2014.
2014. Now, when we went to the website of some of those NGOs,
Yeah.
a particular one called the Center for Adolescent Studies or something like that,
Okay.
they had been running the program even earlier, from 2005 or thereabouts.
Yeah.
And when we challenged the Ministry of Education, they said they've never given them permission to do that.
Yeah.
So they would target schools that have computer labs,
Yeah.
and they would come with a curriculum in a disk.
Yes.
They'd plug it in, they'd teach the children, they'd carry it away.
Okay. So
So
there's no evidence.
There is no evidence.
All right.
But this had been done in Nairobi, had been done in Nyanza, had been done in parts of Western.
Yeah.
So some of the things we are seeing may be fruits of some of these interventions.
Yes.
And what you do is you create a crisis.
Yeah.
Then when the fruit comes,
Yeah.
then you come and you say, we now have a solution. Children are already having sex. We must do something about it.
Yes.
Then now we offer comprehensive sexuality education.
That's very true. That's very true. So, ladies and gentlemen, I believe you're following this conversation. I know we're being very, very candid on some of these issues. You can send comments and or text using the numbers on the screen, and tell us what you think about what you're saying. Give us your take on this, and keep following us. I believe that we are helping you. So clearly, as you can see, we as a society are facing a real crisis because of the education systems and the information that flows to our families and to our children, and that has had a major implications. So we want to. I want to ask you, Dr. Gary, as we have a few minutes before we go into a break. Some of the advice you would give to parents now that schools are back, and we are. Is there something? I know you work with the Kenya Professional Kenya Christian Professionals Forum. Mm-hmm. Are there some things that you're doing there you can mention them briefly, mm-hmm. so that then after that, after we come from the break, we can expound a little bit on that?
Yes, I think the main thing we need to understand is that everything we are calling corruption in Kenya is a moral problem.
Yes.
And it will not be solved by laws.
Yes.
And it will not be solved by policies.
Yes.
It will be solved by us going back to our hearts.
Yes.
And starting to actually live our faith.
Yes.
And it is the parents' business to parent their children.
Yes.
And especially moral formation.
Yes.
Now, since the children are in school longer than they're with you, and is necessary for education, then the parents' teachers associations must be taken very seriously by parents.
Okay.
So that we go and we engage and make sure we know what is happening to our children.
Yes.
There are now pastoral hours that have been given to schools, but they are not teachers. There is no reason why a class that has 40 children, it means if child has 2 parents, then you have 80 children, 80 parents. Yeah. It is not difficult to volunteer, to have one parent going in and taking the pastoral hour with the children. The whole year has only 52 weeks.
Actually,
it is possible.
It's even about 40 actually.
Yes,
40 weeks
when you remove
school.
The holidays.
Yes.
Yes. So the parents must get engaged.
Okay.
And we must take the faith to the class.
Okay.
And we must engage with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development.
Yes.
We must see what it is they're developing for our children.
Yes.
We must engage with the Ministry of Education and seriously state that we are interested in what our children are doing.
Yes.
The Kenya Films Board is doing a beautiful job.
Okay.
Making sure that our children are not exposed to things that are morally destructive.
Yes.
But one other little thing for parents.
Yes.
The mobile phone.
Okay.
And Wi-Fi. These things need to be managed very carefully. Okay. And if it is possible, children below the age of 16, 18 do not need to have a mobile phone on them 24/7.
Yes.
And if they have one, then it must be controlled.
That's
so
true.
that is a short period. But any child below the age of 12, 14 really doesn't need to have a phone. The problem is this,
yes.
and it's important for parents to understand.
Yeah.
The brain is the last organ to mature in the human body.
Okay.
And every time you see your child able to walk, it means that they have developed a certain capacity of the brain. That's why they can walk.
Yes.
When they talk, they've developed another capacity.
Yes.
Sexual maturity happens at about 12 to 14.
Yes.
Because at the time that part of the brain has matured.
Yes.
So we have 12 to 14-year-olds who are fully sexually mature.
Yes.
And can have children.
Yes.
But guess what?
Yeah.
The last part of the brain that controls our decision making matures between the age of 22 and 24.
Wow.
So the problem with a teenager is a capacity of development.
Yes.
So when you give them the phone and tell them to be responsible, you are throwing them into the fire.
Oh my God.
They actually do not have the capacity.
Yes.
And their curiosity will get to them.
Yes.
They will end up on porn sites. They will end up sharing stuff on things that are not very good.
Yes.
Without your knowledge.
Yes.
So we really need to be careful, because the minute we brought the TV into the house, and now the mobile phone, we have another third parent that we are not watching.
Yeah. So people have allowed this guy called the television to parent their children.
Yes.
Now, we're going to go into a break, and then when we come back from the break, we are going to look at some of the issues Dr. Gary has raised. So please keep watching, and let's engage on these issues. As you can tell, as a society, we have a lot of work to do. Parents, you have a lot of work to do. You cannot leave parenting of your children to teachers and the television and the other guys that speak to your children all the time. So we go into a break, we'll come back and then continue from there. God bless you, and don't go anywhere. Keep watching. Thanks.